Welcome to my channel. In this topic we are going to talk about ledger components for Oracle Cloud GL Ledger setup. What is our agenda in this topic? We will talk about three things here: chart of accounts, value sets, structure, and instance. This is a task list for defining your chart of accounts. We can use these tasks if we are manually creating a chart of accounts, but if you are using the rapid implementation spreadsheet, then that's going to create the first 8 tasks for you anyway. So if you are manually creating, then you have to do your value sets, your structures, your instance, define your valid segment values and your account hierarchies. And then to complete your setup, there are some optional setup segment values, security rules, aliases, cross validation rules, that kind of thing. Now the first step to creating your chart of accounts is to create your value sets. This get added to your structure and instance, and then create the values. Now this is really important because if you create values before you assign your value set to your structure and instance, there is going to be some attributes that you won't be able to set. So for example, the account type for an account, or whether you want to allow posting, that kind of thing. For the value sets, now let's get into the system and have a look at one of these value sets in existing, or we can try to create a new one. Let's go to application, go to system and maintenance, select financial, search by manage chart of accounts. Here, manage chart of accounts, value sets. You can search or create. Try to create. Here, what is the value set code? I will try to enter the code. The description, I can take the same. Here you are going to select the module for list of the modules. We need to specify the module because the manage value set user interface is shared across multiple applications. So in value sets which are using in general ledger, we will using or select general ledger applications. Then we have the validation type, format, dependent, subset, and table. Here there is one recommended by Oracle. Don't try to use dependent. If you selected it here, it will working, but in the space cube it will not work. So there are also a lot of alternative solutions. One of them is related value set, so you can use related value sets features instead of dependent validation type for your value sets. I will select dependent. Then what is value date type of character, number, date time. I will select, for example, character. So this gives us the flexibility to use alphanumerics if we want to. Then this is for your security enabled. So you could enable your security rules, value set security rules here or not. Then we have to identify value subtype to identify it, which we have got as text, translated, numeric, digits, time and time. So again, we could do alphanumerics because if you just want numerics, you can choose a numeric subtype. Even if you have chosen a value data type of character, and then for your segments. What about minimum and maximum value? Identify that your alphanumerics should be uppercase only. Here 0 fill. For the uppercase letters and lowercase letters, if you are using alphas, then if you select these options, it is a good idea to select it because when the application sorts, it is by number first, then capital letters, and then finally lowercase letters. And if you are using alphanumerics in your value sets, you probably don't want to have a mix of people entering uppercase letters, lowercase, because again, as I say, it is going to have a bit of sorting issues if you do. For the value, zero fill, what this does, it justifies and zero fills the numbers. So if you have got your maximum length is 3, for example, and you enter a 1, then your segment value will be 001 because it will put two zeros in front of the 1 to. For the other validations that you will see when you go and set up your flex fields, but those are not used within general ledger. Now one thing to mention about these value sets, you can share them, so you could use them across chart of accounts, you could use the same value set. So company and intercompany could potentially share the same value set. But what you have to remember is segment value security is secured by the value set. So if you secure the value set that's shared, then you are securing both of those segments. Let's say you set your company to just be able to see 101 and then all your intercompany transactions are limited to company 101 and 102 as well. So just be aware of that. If you are using intercompany, you probably want to set up separate value sets, or I should say, if you are using intercompany and segment value security, then you want to think of separate value sets for those segments. Use independent validations, format only, subset, and so on. They are used by other cloud applications, but not. So now you have a good practice to go create or search for any of the value sets. Come back to our slides. Now let's talk about the chart of account structure. The structure of your chart of accounts is known as the accounting flex field structure, and it's basically the segments. You are going to have, for example, company, cost center, accounts, intercompany, future segments, and so on. It's important to plan carefully so that it meets the current needs of your organization, because also allows for future requirements. It is going to be relevant for your industry, your reporting requirements, and so on. So choose the number of segments, the name of those segments, the order of each segment carefully, because making changes in the future is difficult and it is not recommended. So again, let's go in and have a look at structure within the system. To system to functional system manager. You can cancel, again cancel. You can select manage chart of accounts structure. I'm just going to search for the structure that we have got on environment. I will select general manager, search, manage structure. Here you can search for the code starting by 00. This is our structure. If you try to edit, you will see here the name, the code, also the name, description, director. So how do you want to separate out your segments? Is it a dot? Is it a dash? You can decide how you want to separate them out. And then you are going to have your segments in the sequence. You them and they have to start 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. Here you cannot do 10, 20, 30 or anything. It has to be sequentially 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Don't try to put 10, 20, 30 and so on. Now if I just edit, let's have a look at, for example, company, because there are other information that we have got in here. Try to edit. We have our segment code, name, description, prompt also. So what are they going to see when they go to enter the segment? Display weight, so the size of the segment, and the column name in the table that is linked to, which is, for example, segment 1, and then you are choosing your default value set. So remember, we have created our value sets. They are linked to the segments within the structure. Then you can assign the segment labels. So we have to have primary balance segment, and as it says there, it is typically the company segment. So we have chosen this as our primary balancing segment. And you must have a primary balancing segment, you must have a natural account segment, as we have got here for the other segments. So if you are using assets expense, or you plan to use assets or expense in the future, you want to identify a segment as your cost center segment. I mean, that's not a required segment, but if it's you are using those products for the assets or expense, you have to create one segment for him. So those were the labels that you need to have for your chart accounts, and you will see we have also got intercompany segment. So also we need to flag that as intercompany segment as well using those labels. Let me cancel, check the account, edit. Again, the name, descriptions, API, name for the reporting, sequence number, what's a prompt, enabled and disabled, display width for this segment, and here default value set code which is already defined before this step, and here for the account we selected the natural account segment as a label. This is again overview of the chart of account structure. Cancel, cancel. Let's come back to our slides. So, looking at the actual chart of accounts, let's talk about little bit the sign of the chart of accounts. So when you are creating your chart of accounts, you have up to 30 segments, but best practice is between 5 and 9 segments. You can have maximum of 25 characters per segment for a concatenated total length of 250 characters. However, you should avoid total concatenated lengths of over 28 to 30 characters, as you have problems with the chart of accounts replicating on some predefined reports, and it can be complicated data entry. When you are thinking about your segments, you should create them with names that are easy to understand by the users, and they should be unique. So don't have two segments that are very similar, and don't try to combine segments together into one, because it is just going to make report difficult. And segment should be important for managing your business. Remember, you need to get your reports out of general ledger, and it is these segments that you are reporting on. You define each segment name and sequentially order those segments, starting with the one which is what we saw in the structure there, and the default value set which we have mentioned. So our chart of accounts instance, we have got our structure, and then we create the chart of account instance. This is what you see in the user interface, and it shares all the attributes of the chart of account structure, so they have the same segments in the same order. But are able to override that default value set for an instance. So let's go and have a look in the system at an instance. Press on. Third one is manage chart of accounts structure instance. Let me select any existing one, general media, there, structure instance, there we have 00 structure. Again, we have API name for the reporting. We have the name, we have the description, it is enabled, and then we have this dynamic combination creation allowed, and that's what they are referring to. What is that if you create a new code combination, it can be automatically added to the code combination table. It doesn't need to be set up before the users can use it. Just to explain that a little bit further, so the code combination, for example, 01/110/111, That's my segments by combined together to make a code combination. So our user enters code combination, it's new, it is not on the code combination table, but we don't know that yet. So when you enter that code combination, it checks to see if it's on the code combination table. If it is, then it is just going to accept the code combination and let you use it. If it's not on the code combinations, it is going to look at that setting dynamic combination that's not switched on, then you combination until some edits or adds it to the table. If it is switched on, it will come down further to look at your cross validation rules, and if it fails the rules, you are not be able to use it. But if does pass the rule, then come on and add that to the code combination table automatically. So the next time somebody uses that code combination, it will accept it straight away. So that's our dynamic insert or dynamic combination creation allow. For the shorthand alias enabled, you can define aliases for the combinations of your segment values, so it will be easily for your users to enter the segment values during enter the invoices, transactions, and so on. So instead of select the value set one by one, the user will select this shorthand alias direct without entering the values for the segment. Again here you will put our segment structure name, and depends on the structure name it will create here our segment instance, the same for this structure name. Again you can try to edit here. What is the value set code? Is it required? Displayed? PI enabled? For the PI publisher, you are using to this value set in PI or not? Here default type you can make a constant or SQL. If you select constant, so you are going to put a default value. So again, during entering the transaction, this default value will be showing as a default. I am using this default for the future segments. If I have 2 or 3 segments as a future, I put it default value as 0. Here, query required or optional selected. During the user select the value, it will be selected required, so the user must select a value for the company. Here structure tree name. If you find a tree means what? Parent and the child value sets for the company. You can come here and select your tree name. The tree name, it will be very helpful for the counts for the programs, if you have a segment for programs, because in the counts you will using parent and the child and 2 parent, 1 child, and so on. For example, if you go to count, the same options you will see: value set code, is it required, displayed, PI enabled, default type sequence from a query SQL. Again, query, is it optional or selective required, and the tree of your account segment. I hope now that you have got a lot of information about value sets and chart of account structure and account chart of accounts instance. I hope to subscribe and thanks for watching.